Today you will have an opportunity to learn about and practice classifying evaluation inquiries into 4 levels of evaluation. Feel free to also access the identified pages in your FET handout. And please read the training outcome. The roadmap for today is very straightforward, and it's to the point. We are going to define, describe, and work with the 4 levels of evaluation. Prior to logging on to this webinar, in the online introduction to evaluation, you were introduced to the purpose of evaluation. You reviewed some pros and cons of conducting evaluation. You also posted 3 or 4 ways to collect evaluation data that either you have used in your recent training sessions or that you have experienced in workshops that you have attended. And finally, during the recent face-to-face training, you discussed the many pros and cons around evaluation when you participated in the Great Debate activity. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
I get 1 yes. Anybody else? Remember the Great Debate?
Yes.
Okay. That's just kind of a starting point for you to think about what we're talking about today. These activities set the groundwork for our webinar, and as we learned about, we're going to work with 4 levels of evaluation. Do you have any questions or comments regarding any of this information so far?
No, I don't.
All right. Anybody else?
No.
All right. We're going to move on. The 4 levels of evaluation are randomly listed on the screen. In reality, there is a specific order for them, from level 1 to level 4. As you look at this random list on the screen, which one of these do you think is evaluation at level 1? Somebody wrote up reaction. Does anybody else agree? Another somebody else? All right, level 1 is in fact participant reaction. Why do you think it's considered level 1? Why do you think this is the beginning level, the easiest level in evaluation?
Well, I think it's probably easy to read body language and just to get a feel for your participants in or presence there, or just, it's observable.
True. While you're training, you are reading body language, but when you think about the actual evaluation form, something that you hand somebody to fill out, we say that level 1 is the easiest kind of information to obtain, and I'm wondering if you know why that is. Why is it easy to obtain this kind of participant reaction? It is immediate, that's correct.
Right, yeah.
It is immediate. People are right there. It happens right away, and it's connected to the content that you just talked about, okay? Somebody said that it's a matter of opinion, but in actuality, participant reaction isn't a matter. Now, participant reaction is opinion. You're right about that. The fact that it's level 1 is not opinion. So I want to just clarify that. Make sure you're clear on that. Okay? All right? Which one of these do you think is level 2?
Participant learning?
Yeah, I've got a couple people saying learning, several people saying learning at this point.
You're going the wrong way.
God, I hate that. So level 2 is participant learning, okay? What do you think makes it level 2 and not level 1? Why is level 2 2 and not the very first level? What do you think about that? Why is it a little bit higher level?
People are giving you specifics in the participant learning.
Absolutely. They have to be able to recall something about the content. Telling you what I like and don't like is pretty easy. But if I have to recall something about the content, then it stretches me just a little bit more. So you're absolutely right about that. And when we talk about participant learning, somebody said you will know if knowledge is gained. I will know what they learned about. I don't know if it's going to stick with them at this point. I just know that they're able to tell me at the end of training what they learned about. Can you decipher the difference between that? Whether somebody has actually learned it or learned about it, do you see the difference there? Okay. So which one of these do you think is level 3?
Behavior change.
Behavior change is absolutely right. That is level 3. Level 3 evaluation is behavior change. And what do you think behavior change means or refers to?
It can be measured.
It definitely can be measured. You are right about that. Okay? So behavior change can be measured. It says putting knowledge to practice. Can you be a little more specific? Who's putting the knowledge to practice? Using what they learned. Okay, participants are using what they learned. If in fact they are using what they learned and they've taken this back home and they're beginning to practice it, you should, over time, be able to measure a behavior change. You should be able to measure something that they are now doing differently than they did before. All right? Is that clear to everybody? There is a change in behavior. They're doing something differently now than they did before. They've either improved it or they've completely changed and are doing something new and different. Well, that leaves one left to go for level 4. Man, I hate sort of a delayed reaction here. Okay, sorry about that, folks. There's some background noise right now, too, here. Hold on just a minute. Okay. Level 4 is results and impact. Now, we just talked about what behavior change means and who they're talking about. What do you think results and impact means in regard to evaluation? Sustainable behavior changes? Partly. Someone wrote sustainable behavior changes. That's partly right. As a result of those sustainable behavior changes, what do you get? What should you get? Okay, did the training result in measurable outcomes, or you might say measurable changes or meeting outcomes, or improved services on families and children? All of that is part of it. Behavior change is something that the participant does, they practice, they put it to work back at home, and they do something different. If they're doing something different, and that something different is supposed to improve services for children, then you should see results from that behavior change on the children and or the family and or the program. So it's very important to you to understand that it measures the effect of the behavior change, the effect that the behavior change has on the children or program or families over time. Some impact should be taking place. Some change on the child should be taking place as a result of the changes that the adults have made. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Ultimately, it means improved quality of services. When teachers change their behavior in a positive way, this has a direct impact on the children and the quality of services that the teacher is providing. So based on what we just discussed, here's the correct order of the 4 levels of evaluation. And as we proceed, we're going to discuss each level of evaluation in this order. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the order of these levels of evaluation? Quality of service definitely equates impact. That is a true statement. Anybody else? Any comments? All right. Level 1 evaluation is participant reaction. And at this level, the trainer is seeking feedback on the training session itself, and this takes place right at the end of the workshop. For example, the trainer might ask, what did you enjoy about this training session? Or they might ask, are you satisfied with the support materials that you received during this training? Or how effective was your trainer? And it might be on a scale of 1 to 5. So they're really just finding out, how did you like everything that you took part in today? And the methods for this level could be rating scales, yes-no questions, open-ended questions, and etc. You get more usable information asking simple open-ended questions than you do a yes-no. For instance, where you see there, what did you enjoy about the training session? That's an open-ended question, and people have a chance to give something to you. When you say, are you satisfied with the support materials? Well, that's simply a yes or no. If you want to know what they were satisfied with, open-ended would be better to say, what did you like about the support materials? What support materials do you think you will use the most? Something where they have to actually give you a written answer and tell you something is open-ended. But any kinds of these questions are ones that fit into this. Okay? Level 2 is participant learning, and at this level you are asking our participants to recall what they learned about, and again, it comes right at the end of the training session. Do you remember what I said in our face-to-face session regarding participant learning in the training?
Here, look at this wall.
For those of you that can hear me, do you remember what I said in the face-to-face session regarding participant learning in the training? Nobody can remember? Well, what we have to be careful about assuming is that they actually learned. What we do know, because we're giving them information, that they're learning about something. Does that ring a bell now? Okay. So when we're asking this question at the end of the training, what you have to remember as a trainer, you're finding out what they're recalling right away at the end of the training. So we know that they are able to regurgitate some things that they learned about. We might ask them things like this. List at least 4 out of the 6 strategies that you practiced today. All right? So that allows them to show you what they remember about those strategies. Identify a set of principles that was discussed. So you know that you discussed these principles. What can they tell you about them? Describe 2 strategies that support a particular concept covered. Again, you notice these are all open-ended, which gives them a chance to articulate in their own words the things that they remember learning about, listening to, or experiencing during the training. Sometimes you might even have them complete a post-training inventory. Depends on the content of the training, and you might have done a pre-inventory and a post-inventory, and this might be a way to find out what they remember. But again, you have to keep in mind this is information that they're recalling right away after the training, not like 2 weeks later. You can't assume it's something that they're going to keep. They have to practice it and work with it before that happens. Methods for this level are pretty extensive. You can ask them for lists. You can ask them for descriptions. You can ask them for comparisons. You can ask for narratives. You can ask for inventories. What you want to keep in mind is the more open-ended type of thing you ask for, the more information that you will get from the participant. So just as a little bit of a review, level 1 And level 2 evaluation information is gathered when?
Immediately.
Immediately meaning?
At the start.
At the conclusion?
Training at the conclusion, of course.
Okay, not at the start, at the conclusion of the training. That's absolutely right. All right, so now we're going to move on to level 3, a little bit different. It's the one where you're looking at behavior change of the participants, the people that are in the training, which is typically the staff, okay? This level is inquiring about what participants are doing differently back in their workplace after the training session than they were doing before they attended the training. At this level, you are measuring the use of the new knowledge and skills in the workplace setting. Again, post-training, after the training. This requires follow-up, and depending on the topic, follow-up would be 4 to 8 weeks after the training session to measure and determine change. In other words, they need some time to what before you try and measure change?
To implement.
They need time to implement. They need time to practice, practice, practice. The more they practice, the more firm the implementation should become.
Right.
So some things that you're looking at for are pre and post lists. These are just examples now. Pre and post list of materials, for instance, that might be in the room or in a particular area. Pre and post set of photos that can be used for reporting changes. Pre and post observation narratives that can describe what was being done and what's being done now. Those are just examples, methods that you can use. Pre and post photos, pre and post narratives, pre and post percentages, pre and post tally counts, pre and post timed observations. All of those things help us measure where they were and where they are now some weeks later after training. So in order to collect this information and be able to make their comparisons, this has to start way back when you're working on the needs assessment. Sometimes you can collect this information via some of the things you ask in a needs assessment, and sometimes it's something you even send out special, different even from the needs assessment, where you're asking them to either draw a diagram or make a list, because what you want is information of what they are doing before they get any training. Why is that critical?
Meet their needs.
Well,
you can't determine what the success or the training outcomes will be if you don't know what level they're operating at.
I'm talking about the needs assessment now. Now I'm talking about how are we going to measure change. Why are we saying to get something way before the training to fulfill this behavior change? We're talking about evaluation now, not a needs assessment. I'm asking them for something well before the training takes place. Why?
To help your outcome.
Doesn't help the outcome. I mean, that's not why I'm asking for it, though. Think evaluation. Why am I asking? Let's just use a photo. Why am I asking for a photo 2 weeks before the training or 3 weeks to compare? There you go. Somebody wrote, compare pre and post. You cannot measure if you don't have a baseline.
To determine where they're at and what they need.
What's that? What we're collecting here, the pre and post stuff, isn't so related to the outcomes. It's related to where are you right now, all right, before you get any of this. Somebody might need to mute. So the idea is that you get a baseline, okay? If you're going to give a workshop on the learning environment and what makes a really good setup of a learning environment, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the training, you might ask everybody to send you in a diagram of how their room is right now. Now, why would you ask them for that? Think evaluation now. Why would you ask them for a diagram before you do the training?
Again, comparison of pre to post.
That's exactly right. I want to know what their room looks like now. Then I give the workshop and talk about all the strategies they can do to have a better setup. And then 3 or 4 weeks, in this particular case, probably could be even 2 weeks after training, because you're either going to change your room or you're not, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and so I could say 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior, I want you to send me a new diagram. And then you can measure change. Okay, so that's what this is all about. Okay? Can you ask level 3 questions at the end of the training itself? Okay, somebody said no. Okay, why not? Why can't you do that? You're right.
Behavior change. You have to wait for the behavior change.
All right. That gives me the go-ahead to move forward. You're absolutely right about that. That puts us to level 4, the results and impact, okay? Generally speaking, we're looking for results and impact on children, but widely speaking, we want to say that you can have results and impact on the children, the families, or the program. So I want you to remember that, okay? Just to give you an example, if the training has made a difference in outcomes for the children, has the implementation of the new skill impacted the children in any way, or has the training had any positive results for the program or the program's objectives? You would want to ask this, and here's some things, some examples of what you'd measure. Are the children healthier or missing less days due to less illness based on some training that you did? Are the children engaged in cooperative play at an increased percentage? What is the percent of increased child solving their own problems more independently? That would be following some months after doing a problem approach to problem solving for children. Is there a percent of increase on the mean length of utterance of children after you've given a workshop on using responsive open-ended questions? So these are the kinds of things that you can measure to find out if the change that the adult has made is actually having an impact on what children are doing or what's happening in the program. So if you gave a training on hand washing and you wanted to do some follow-up and find out what they implemented and what were the results, one of the things you might be looking for is that they were having increased illness and absences from children, and so they called you in to do a workshop on hand washing. The teachers started doing better hand washing with themselves and with the children, and 4 months later you looked at the absenteeism charts and the illnesses, and both had gone down. Children were less often ill, and they were missing less days of school. So you see how you can do that compare and contrast based on having those two pieces of information?
Yeah.
All right. So keep in mind, too, results and impact is measured more like 3 to 6 months after training. Remember, behavior change is 4 to 8 weeks. Results and impact takes a little more time, and that could be 3 to 8 months, or 3 to 6 months after the training. And there are no right and wrongs here, and it really depends on the content that you've covered, and you have to gauge yourself of how long you think it takes a teacher, to implement all the pieces of what you train, and then how long it should take for some results to start taking place with the children. So do you see why there's a difference in time between these two?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What questions or comments do you have on behavior change, results, and impact, or the difference between them? Anybody?
Seems fairly clear.
Clear? Good. Somebody else?
Would the results and impact typically be more detailed?
Well, in some ways, I guess the answer to that is yes, because you would be also putting in there, adding into there in a report, for instance, the behavior change the teachers went through, and then because of that behavior change, here were the results and impact on the children. So in that sense, you'd certainly have to know both pieces of data. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And it's correct to assume that they both require a certain amount of empirical evidence.
Yes, it does. Both of them do. You have to have pre and post for both of them. Absolutely. And, a good place to get the pre for both of them is one of the things I ask when I ask in another course that I do is for people in their needs assessment to make sure that they ask at least one question in a needs assessment that addresses behavior change and one question that addresses results and impact. Because at the very minimum then, you have one thing in each category to measure against. Now, it doesn't have to be done on the needs assessment, but it does have to be done pre-training, or the very first thing you do when you get to a training. It could be part of an introductory activity. But the idea is you have to have that, it's not a blank slate really, but you have to have that slate pre-training. So in order to make that measurement and do that, get that data, that empirical data, okay?
Yes.
All righty. Well, we need a little practice here, and what you're going to do is experience an online polling with this activity. It's set to give you an opportunity to read and or hear a question or an inquiry, and then identify the evaluation level of that question or inquiry that you've just seen. I have chosen 20 evaluation questions that were submitted by FET participants online. I'm going to read them one at a time, and then you are going to decide what level of evaluation that particular question represents. And then you'll enter your vote in the poll. It's either a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4. So before we begin, are there any questions as to what you're doing and how to do this poll?
I'm just going to click on the box that's the correct level, or my assessment of the correct level.
Yep. Anybody else?
I'm going to type it in the box, correct?
No, you just click on the one that you think it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's get started. Question number 1. If you are asked to write 3 open-ended questions you might ask a child while they are engaged in play, what level of evaluation question is this? Okay, we had some change of mind, and that's okay. Those of you who said it was level 2 are right. They are asking about what they learned. You know, if you're asking them to write 3 open-ended questions, you're asking them if they learned what they learned about open-ended questions. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, next. Question would be, what did you like best about your training experience today? 100% level 1, you are correct. What? Oh, there was a change. This is when it says, what did you like best? They're asking your opinion, and that is level 1. Okay? Was this training an effective use of your time? Okay, everybody level 1, you are absolutely correct. Participant reaction. Every time. Also, there are 10 people, right? What were 2 key learning points for you today? Okay, that is again asking about something they learned, learning points. What did they learn about? List current types and amounts of materials in the same areas you identified in the pre-training area inventory. Got some thinking going on. We're kind of spread around the board, but this is actually asking the people who were in the training to do something. The trigger here was you asked them to do something pre-training, and that was list amounts of materials that they had in an area inventory, and now you're asking them to do it again. That would have to be post-training, level 3. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Was there enough time allowed for questions to be asked and answered? Okay, everybody agrees that's level 1, and you are right. Opinion. List the verbal support strategies that encourage adult-child interaction. Why is that level 2? Can somebody say?
Knowledge.
Again, you're asking what they learned.
Yep, you're asking about the knowledge that was covered. Okay. Tape and tally yes, no, single answer, and open-ended questions used while reading a book to children. People are thinking. So what do you think? Why do you think it's level 3?
Asking information.
Be a little more, give me a little bit more.
Well, I think it's giving instructions about something that you're going to have to do post the training, but then it's also the fact of doing this is going to take a certain amount of time after the training.
That's why it's behavior change. That's why it's level 3. You're going to ask them to tape and tally something about, this would be, in this particular case, probably a good 7 or 8 weeks after training. 6 to 8 weeks after training, you're going to ask them to tally these kinds of things while they're reading to children, because the idea is they've been practicing this for the last 6 weeks. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that makes it a level 3. You're looking for behavior change. Has it improved? Are they asking better and more open-ended questions? Okay, let's move on. Was the pace of the training appropriate? All right, we're in 100% agreement. Reaction, participant reaction. List the 3 steps an adult should use to introduce a child-initiated small group time. Okay, we're in agreement here too. You're asking something they learned about, and can they talk about it? Can they write about it in the evaluation? Right on. On a scale of 1 to 5, rate the content knowledge displayed by the trainer. Okay, almost 100% on that too. That is level 1. You're asking their opinion, their reaction to what they felt the knowledge displayed by the trainer was. If you've got any questions, be sure and ask. Increase score results on the ITERS, ECHRS, or class assessment. What makes this a level 4? I didn't hear that, sorry.
Those results.
These are the results, right? The teacher has been doing something, and they've been practicing and practicing, and as a result, some things should be happening, and they should get a better score on the ECHRS or the ITERS or whichever, whatever one you're using. Absolutely right. Describe the difference between verbal and nonverbal adult-child interaction strategies. Okay, 100% agreement on that we're asking what they learned about. Are you motivated to attend a follow-up session on this topic? Okay, participant reaction, 100% agreement. Right on. What are 3 changes you will make based on the principles of the learning environment? Got you thinking, got you thinking. The key word here, anybody want to share with everybody what the key word here to tell you which level this is?
You will.
Based on the learning from what you got from the principles of learning.
All right, but the you will is sort of that one. They haven't done it yet, right? It hasn't been done yet. It's something that they're going to do. So that is a level 2, and you're right. You're asking them to talk about those things they learned about, the principles they learned about. So that is a level 2, what they learned about. Please rate the overall value of the training. That's not worded very well. You get it. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 5. Again, participant reaction, right on. We're starting to totally understand those, that's for sure. Would you recommend the training to your colleagues? Okay. 100% agreement on level 1, and you're right. What are 4 to 6 different book genres represented in children's books? You're getting faster and you're accurate. That is a level 2, asking them about what they learned about. What was the percent of decrease in the use of single answer questions when talking with children at choice time? Decrease in the use of single answer questions. Who's doing the question asking? That's going to tip off the level. It's not a result. There you go. It's kind of half and half. This is a level 3. There you go. This is level 3 because we're asking what's the decrease in the use of single answer questions. The adult would be using the single answer questions, okay, when talking to children. So that is behavior change. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the last one? Was an appropriate amount of content covered during this training? Okay, we're in agreement. Level 1, and that was level 1. Well, we're getting our screen back up to where we want it. What are your reactions to what we just did? Thank you.
This is a good summary.
It gives you guys a little bit of practice. These are questions that participants have come up with, and actually, by going through them here, at least it lets you understand. You're pretty good on understanding some and not as good on understanding others, but the practice is important for you to see, can I identify these things just individually? So what we want to do now is interpret the results of the poll. On the next screen, you're going to see the results of the poll you guys just took, okay? So take a look at this. These are the level 1 items you identified, level 2, level 3, and level 4. What do the columns tell us about ourselves and how we understand these levels and use them?
Use a lot of level 1s and 2s.
There's a lot of level 1s and level 2s. We don't use level 3 and 4 much.
Hardly.
All right, that's exactly right. There's a lot of level 1 and level 2. So we have a lot of strength on this chart. In terms of evaluation and the levels, we're 50% there. Pat yourselves on the back, okay? Because it's important to recognize that you are very good at understanding level 1 and level 2 evaluation, okay? And you're right, somebody said a lot of what we ask is opinion, and that is so true. We ask mostly the opinions, and we do ask some of what you learned. And I think you understand the difference between those two, yes?
Yes.
And you also understand that we do this too because we do it right at the end of training. Everybody's kind of used to that, right?
Correct.
So here's the next chart, all right? I want to ask you, why does this happen? Why does it end up that we're pretty strong in level 1 and 2, not so strong in level 3 and 4? Why do you think?
Well, we haven't had measurable time to actually do the implementation and actually get feedback from it. We haven't been able to go forth and do the changes.
What did you say at the beginning? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh my gosh, I'm not sure I can repeat it.
Did you say we don't take the time, or we don't?
We haven't had time.
We haven't had time. Well, are you even doing it? Are you talking about as participants or as trainers?
Well, I was thinking about as participants. We haven't, I mean,
well,
the evaluation process. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, you're right in that sense. I mean, participants have to have the time to do the implementation in order for level 3 to take place, right? You're right about that. Okay?
But as trainers, we don't go back and follow up, though.
Yes. So because post-training, we aren't doing much, are we?
No.
At least I can say we aren't doing much with evaluation. Even if we follow up and ask people, how are you doing? How are things going? You know, do you feel better about what you're doing? That's all fine and good. But we're not doing anything to collect data, right?
Right.
That's right. Right.
So this is a little bit foreign to us, going back and following up with level 3 and level 4. And it also is difficult because we aren't used to baselining things before training either. So we don't have anything to compare, right?
Right.
Correct.
We're just not doing the whole process. We're real good at level 1 and level 2, but we're not doing much for level 3. I can't read that. Somebody's posted something here I want to just make sure we go through. I'm thinking of those. Okay, now that's a good point. Conferences aside, and we always, even in training, we have to talk about this. You know, conference presentations are a different beast in the sense of follow-up and all of that. But let's set that aside. I'm not saying we forget about it, because I can tell you just from my own experience, I actually do follow-up, but it's at a lighter level in a conference situation. But when you are training with groups of people, and you are training with them, even if you're not training over time, but you've given them a 2 or 3 hour workshop, and there is no reason why you can't do a level 3 and a level 4 follow-up. It doesn't have to be, you know, 18 questions and 17 different things that they do. It could be one very key question and one very, very key thing you want them to go back and implement. We just aren't doing it. It's not part of what we've either been trained to do or it hasn't been pushed on us to do it. And we're doing a little pushing today, right?
Yes.
I do know that at some of the larger conferences that I have attended, they collect email addresses from all of the participants, and they do send out follow-up surveys a bit later.
Yeah. I do that myself. I do that, but a lot of people don't. And that's why I say I'm putting it to the side, because that is a little different beast than the kinds of things we're talking about where you're going out and training with people where there is that expectation that they go back and implement, okay? Everybody square on that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. Some people do have that opportunity to follow up and are doing that. That's terrific. So here's the last question. I'm asking, which are the most critical levels of evaluation and why? What do you think?
I think the participant learning is.
Okay, 1 vote for participant learning. How about the rest of you?
I agree.
Anybody else? Somebody says 3 and 4 because they show behavior change and impact.
I think they're all critical, personally.
Yes.
Okay. Honestly, this isn't a trick question. All right. Let me just say that you are right. Each of these levels of evaluation is important. But of these 4 levels, level 3 and level 4 are the critical ones. And it's exactly because of what somebody entered. It's because they have measurable accountability. According to our initial definition of effective training, there must be a behavior change on the part of the participant. Acquiring new knowledge and skills will not fulfill the workplace outcome if the knowledge and skills are not implemented. Right there is your key piece. Funders are interested in results and impact, the return on their investment, and level 3 and level 4 evaluation provides that kind of critical information. And I'm going to repeat what I said before. You don't have to ask 6 different things and require 6 different implementation pieces. It could be 1 or 2 key things And that's what makes it a very doable thing to start getting into level 3 and level 4. Also, when a trainer can show the director and staff a % of improvement, a change in behavior, even if it's 6 or 8%, that beats having no facts. It proves that your training has made a difference, and it motivates and inspires staff to keep working. Then you follow that by proving and providing results and impact. Directors are far more apt to ask you back to do more training. They'll want to work with you in terms of following your direction and assisting you in some things you need, and they will trust your decisions. And the tone that you use, if you say, well, you only increased 8%, that's not too motivating. But if you say, your staff has shown an overall increase in the use of open-ended questions by 8% in just 2 months, how does that feel?
Much better.
It is positive. It's very positive.
Very positive. Yeah, 8% isn't a huge amount, is it?
No.
No, but if you say it in that way, doesn't it sound like it's a phenomenal increase?
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want them to think, oh, we got better. And it doesn't matter if it's only 8%. What matters is that they got better, and it means they'll want to do more. Does that make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Any comments to that? And in terms of your own motivation to want to start including level 3 and level 4?
Well, I think that's the purpose of training. We want to improve the services we give our children. So this just makes so much sense. Yeah, that you would want to see measurable change.
Yeah, we say we want to, and we often can even say things are going so much better. But if we don't have any proof, then where does that statement get us?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. We've got to have the data. And I'll say it for the third time. I'm not asking for 6 and 8 pieces of data, am I? It might be 1 simple % of improvement over 1 action that's making a difference. And you can start that tiny and build over time. Does that sound doable to all of you out there, seasoned trainers versus new trainers?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody said small changes seems more attainable, and that's true. Start small. You don't need to start big. One little thing and show some change, some improvement, you've got them. So, I ask, what are the implications for trainers regarding planning for evaluation? All 4 levels of evaluation are very what?
Important.
Important. Correct. All right? And all 4 levels of evaluation must be
Presented.
Practice.
starts with a P.
Present.
Present is good. I'll accept that. Practice, that's good too. Good P word. Present, practice.
Provided.
What else? There we have it. Plan. All 3 work. I'm fine with all 3 of those. But it isn't going to happen if you don't plan it. If you do not plan for 4 levels of evaluation, they won't happen. It's not up to the director. It's not up to the participants. It's not up to anybody but the trainer. And if the trainer doesn't plan for them, because where does the planning start?
Starts with the trainer.
With the trainer.
Oh, think again. It starts where? When you're planning for level 3 and level 4 evaluation, where does it start?
Oh, it's going to be with your participants.
Think. Doesn't start with the staff. Prior to training, way back around the time when you're thinking of needs assessment and when you're talking to the director, what do you want to see happen here? What kind of change do you want to see? What do you want happening differently that isn't happening now? Way back there, and then you've got to figure out, what am I going to measure? What can I measure here? So it happens way back, and if you don't plan for that, what will happen?
You won't get any changes.
You won't do it. You will not have level 3 and level 4. It won't be happening. So when you think about the whole planning process, the training planning process, this has to be part of it. A big part of it. Just as important as coming up with a good opening activity. Okay? Are we on the same page?
Yes.
All right. The good news is we are experienced and quite capable with level 1 and level 2 evaluation, which means the glass is half full. All right? You're 50% accomplished. You have level 3 and a level 4 evaluation is going to be a little bit more challenging for you, and this is my challenge to you. I want you to move past where you are and challenge yourself to include level 3 and level 3 evaluation 4 to 8 weeks following your training, and level 4 evaluation 3 to 6 months following your training. Start with just one group of participants, maybe not all groups that you're working with, just one. Stick with it, get proficient, and see how it grows. And then you'll find out that there's even been a change in your behavior, and there's going to be some results and impact that will help you want to do this with other groups as well. Okay? I want to let you also know that you're going to be able to print the chart that was the result of our polling, and as a follow-up to Module 4, you will also receive a document with many sample level 1, 2, 3, and 4 questions so that you have some samples to work from, okay?
Wonderful. Thank
Great.
you.
All right. So, let's see. Oh, I just want to go over this. You'll have an online assignment that's going to be due based on this evaluation webinar, and it's going to be an opportunity to practice writing level 3 and level 4 questions, because the only way you're going to get good at this is to start to practice it. And you may not be good the first few times you do it, but you'll get better and better. I want you to remember that, okay? Are there any final questions or comments that people have about moving on to level 3 and level 4 evaluation? We think about level 1 and 2. We pretty well do that, know that, accomplish that every time we do a training or attend a training. It's a level 3 and level 4 that's new, maybe a little apprehensive about it, but the best way to do it is to what?
Practice.
Practice. Just practice doing it. So any questions or comments before it's not like you can't ask me later, you know you can, but right now, anything that anybody would like to share with anybody about this process, or about what you gained today, or what you think this will do for you in the future? Well, if not, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, attention, and participation. I'm always here to help you through this process. You know that. Please never hesitate to email me. I just want you to be, first of all, to start doing this. Get this under your belt. And then once you do start, you'll get better and better with more practice. So thanks very, very much. Once we finish Module 4, are we done, correct? Yes, pretty much. We'll ask you to do an evaluation on the course, and you will be done. Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.